welcome. I am delighted to have with me here today Mr. Bossman, Kevin Ellis of Land and New Homes Network. How are you?
I'm really good, Whaley. How are you?
Well, you've got me up very early in the morning, so this had better be good.
I was walking the dog at 4:30. The sun was shining. It was the best part of the day. You've probably never seen that time of day unless you're going home, have you?
I was going to say, coming back, we don't do that Josh Vegan early morning club. That's not what we do. Kev,
I was up before him today.
You were up before? Wow, that's disgusting. That really is disgusting. You've got some big news on the horizon, haven't we, Kev? We're going to let me just read through the press release, if that's okay. Let's see if I've actually got it. It's probably a bit too small to see on the screen, but I will try it anyway. Let's just see. There we are. For those people like myself, no, it's going to be too small. Let me just read it through anyway. So, Land and New Homes Network introduces plug-and-play Land and New Homes solution for agents. The new cost-effective associate membership option empowers agents to fast-track their own land and new homes departments. To create opportunities in the national house building boom and celebrating the 6-year anniversary of the Land and New Homes Network, the association is launching a new associate membership class designed to offer the quickest and easiest possible entry into the land and new home sector, offering the ultimate in flexibility for time-poor agents with ambitions. Now, there's a full release there, which we'll put out alongside it, Kev. But let's drill into some of the details about this, if it's okay, why it's so relevant to people. Clearly, and happy birthday, by the way, on your little baby being, did you say 6?
6, yeah, next week.
You see, you don't even look at it. You still look Peter Pan. You still look Kev, why have you introduced this new membership tier? Clearly, you've got some incredibly successful agents who have, shout from the hilltops about obviously what they're able to do in association with you. What was the thinking behind this associate level?
I think the realization was that for certain agents in certain locations, particularly maybe a 1 or 2 office company, that maybe didn't, it's quite a big thing if you're going to try and have to resource a land and new home side to your business. And one of the common things we were finding out was that agents saying, look, there's stuff going on, we don't know what to do, where do we start? And therefore it's that sort of point, where do you start to employ people with that specialism or not? Yeah. And what we came to the realization is look, actually guys, we can do plug you into the network so you benefit from what's going on across each of the regions. But more specifically, if you are identifying opportunities, pass them into us. We'll turn them into a land deal for you. We'll tell you to not waste your time. But more importantly, then using that real leverage and giving a real leg up to if you like, a single branch company or whatever, to have a little bit more action when it comes to some of the new home stuff. And it's really evident with the amount of new home stock that is coming through, which obviously stock is a big issue for agents. So, it's kind of adapting it for that and also making it, affordable, but at the same time, really giving them a sort of an instant shot in the arm to plug that in. And it's been very well received.
Can you give us any context around the commercials at all? Is this going to be genuinely kind of accessible to all, or is this still going to be sort of towards the top end?
No, it's £250 a month. Then where it gets interesting is obviously around the commissions, and what we say on that is obviously, we're ultimately going to be building agents in for the resales later down the line off the back of land deals that are going on. And we've got one example at the moment down in Southwest, where an agent in the first 2 weeks had already passed us over 8 land leads that they'd sort of had spotted or had perhaps been sort of dancing around, if you like, and not knowing what to do. And already one of those has resulted in an instruction, and at the same time, obviously, then delivering the leverage to go and put that with a house builder, which they're absolutely buzzing with. So it's great.
Well, as you say, and in the market conditions at the moment, with stock being where it's at, isn't it? This really is a shot in the arm, isn't it, for anybody looking to? There were no short-term golden bullets, but this is as close as it. This is as close as it gets, isn't it?
I think. Look, we had the data through yesterday. There's just under 30,000 new homes individual listings on Rightmove as at yesterday.
Okay.
That's for sale. So that's not they're not sold. They're actually for sale. And I obviously appreciate that some of those with maybe some of the volume developers, they might just list one house type, but there are multiple ones. What's really interesting, which I think a lot of people make the assumption, oh, stock's just moving really super quickly or whatever. The amount of stock that in the new homes market, particularly in some instance either which has been poorly marketed by another agent or indeed a developer directly, there's an awful lot of stock on there that's actually been on for quite a while.
Okay.
And my fear at the moment is I don't think enough agents are into that stuff, and therefore what this aims to do is kind of like give the crystal ball moment of saying, look, here's the stock, let's get really clear of the silos where we need to focus some time and energy, and let's get stuck into it. So yeah, we just kind of felt that adapting the model, so obviously we've still got the full membership model anyway, but what this particularly does around the associate level is it gives an agent the exclusivity that they're a member in a certain location. What maybe it doesn't do is give them the full exclusivity of all the resources and all the data we might give on land, because we'd rather know that the area is getting farmed properly, and that's what we're doing for agents. So we're very clearly...
By doing that, though, Kev, the reason you're doing that as well is so that so that you can pitch to the builders, to the developers, isn't it? To say, look what we're doing across the country and everything else, and then they're going to be far more likely to keep you supplied, aren't they?
I think the big thing is about can we give a whole of region service in the delivery of land? If we can prove that point, as we now can. Whether there's an associate member in place or it's currently an area we are just cracking on and farming, we're using those opportunities as fuller leverage for the benefit of all of our members. So immediately you've got that, and you've got this real constant supply of land and opportunities that you're discussing coming through. The house builders are literally all over us. So in that sense, it just felt like a bit of a no-brainer. And look, there's some really great independent single office firms that maybe they're not in the biggest towns that would warrant maybe how the membership model was for them, or we'd set it up initially. But what we feel here is now this genuinely is a real plug and play, gives the depth of expertise. We've got a full team here backing up, handling those leads. And I think, just in the last week alone, I think we've processed something like 85 leads that were passed across. So for that agent, again, to be able to go back to their owners or their vendors and say, look, it's been appraised, we've done this, we've done that, this is the outcome. It really sort of just solidifies, if you like, that depth of multidisciplinary service, if you like, that each agent could and should be providing. And look, there's much speculation about what the market is or isn't doing. For me, to keep banging on, the house builders have still got to keep building and still, planning applications are getting approved, all right, not as quick as we want, but they're still coming through at quite a pace across every area of the country. So
this is one of the most demonstrably, effective things you can do to secure the pipeline, isn't it? That supply, really, isn't it? So rather than just sat around waiting or going out there and hitting all your prospecting systems just for the normal resi sales side of things, this is one angle where you can actually get ahead of the competition, isn't it?
Yeah, we just had it with another agent up in Berkshire. That again, we're on sort of our pilot of the trial for this associate model, and interestingly, they were up against 3 or 4 other agents, and one of which was the company I used to work for. And interestingly, when it came to the pitch, because the agent was able to show a joined up approach in the land piece, they've actually been shortlisted. We then did the pitch, and now actually we're into the finite details on the commercial. So you'd sit there and say, our agent's been very much shortlisted, and it's now down to the detail. And I'm pretty confident, that will result in a full instruction. That's 200 grand for fees for next year.
I can't believe it. I mean, look, when I talk to some of those clients of yours, and the phrase that comes back at time and time again is, I wish we'd done it ages ago, couldn't have done it without the assistance and the expertise. The question I come back to is, why? What has been blocking typical agents, normal agents, from being able to go down that way? Is it literally just that where did you get started point of view?
I think the biggest one is the investment of time and the upfront level of work. And look, I've not yet come across a single agent that we've spoken to that's onboarded that where we focus initially on this sort of 3-year planning data, and we're never going to stop banging on about that. And that generally the reason for that is that it is the crystal ball moment. So if we're looking at where revenue is going to come from for 2022 or 2023 and beyond, right now is sitting in the planning data. So even, I think agents go off with all this wonderful tech and stuff and think, oh, we're going to go and start doing, big land deals on subject to planning sites. You're not going to see any cash from that for at least 2 years in reality. So if by focusing on the consented stuff, and I think that for a lot of agents, they just think, oh God, it's like, spreadsheets, where do we go? And what we're trying to, push really heavily at the moment is just about these silos. So, the 1 to 5 unit stuff, fine, just pop that straight through your branch network. That's easy churn or through auctions. But let's really talk about the stuff in the 6 to 20 or the 20 to 70, because right now that's where all the developers want to be buying land. So if we can get that sort of piece going, and I think that's the biggest barrier, and also for agents who don't want to lose face, but maybe don't have that level of depth of expertise, if you like, to how to negotiate that deal, or even know where to start and getting the right contracts and things in place. And we do all that for agents now as part of this.
And you've got model. All that. You've got all that in your kit bag to take that away. So that's fantastic, being able to sort it out. Just on a basic level, Kev, why do the house builders need estate agents anyway? So many of them.
Delivery of land. A lot of agents will be much more connected in their local towns, and some developers who are just rocking in. Use of branches to pre-launch sites from. Seeing that more and more at the moment, actually, as more developers are obviously tuning into sort of pre-launch or off-plan launch strategies. So they really want to get ahead of the game in terms of getting these off-plan sales. And I think what will ultimately happen, particularly the removal of Help to Buy in its current format, next year, and already, they're talking about, you need to be reserving your plot by October to get the benefit of that because of the conveyancing delay. So all of a sudden that sort of shortens that window, and particularly if you look at the amount of sales that developers have been selling 2-3 bedroom houses to because of Help to Buy, when that goes, they either need to come up with their own solution, or they very much have got to be tapping into agents' databases, whether that's tenants looking to move on and whatever else. And funny enough, we had a big meeting with a housing association this week, and just the whole space around that as well, where they now really want to engage with agents. It's just, it's fascinating to see all this stuff unraveling, really. So, it's there's actually a lot of stock to come through.
So give us some ideas. You mentioned just one particular example there, but to put some, frame of reference on this for people for what can be achievable. What is the size of the opportunity for an agent? I know it will be different in each areas, and maybe just sort of support that with a few of the examples of it, how you've been able to help out people, because I think that really brings it to life.
Okay, so let's take one particular location, not a big town. And by the way, every single town, every single market across the country will have its own fair share of demand for delivery of land being released for development, or indeed brownfield sites being redeveloped or whatever. So there isn't really, unless you're getting right into a very high conservation area or an area of outstanding attributes, broadly, every town, without question, has got planning applications that have been processed or going through, and.
Yeah.
So firstly, we've got to get the awareness up on that and engage with those landowners. And I think what we're seeing is, for the last couple of years, a lot of landowners maybe thought, we'll go off and get the development finance, we'd like to build it ourselves, but obviously with material costs rising, labour, etc., that's a real risky strategy for somebody who's not well versed in it. So immediately you open up a line where those those landowners who maybe thought they were going to build are saying, actually, do you know what, I'd sell the site on.
Yeah.
So pushing that through back to the agent at this particular location, they've passed us probably just under 20 sites over the last 6 weeks, of sites that they've either been deemed a site because they've been out and valued a house for a vendor. They've looked out the back window and thought, blimey, big garden, or sizable plot. Now what? Has it got some development potential? In simple terms, they fire that lead into us. Yep. We will very, very quickly appraise that as part of our land board meeting. So we have a land meeting internally every day, yep, where we're reviewing every single lead that's come into the business, and our team, or myself or Ian, look at each one of those and say, yep, no, whatever, based on a number of key criteria to be able to go back and report that to the agent. So within 48 hours of an agent passing a lead, we can tell them whether it's got legs or not, and whether it's worth sort of spending a lot more time on. That's pretty good, for an agent who maybe doesn't have that service offering right now. Then we come through to the conversations with the house builders. So this particular agent, he doesn't know any house builders, no knowledge, no nothing. Well, all of a sudden, we, as a result of the leads that he's passed or leads that we've generated in his area, we're already talking to a number of house builders in that patch about the site in X, Y, and Z location, and therefore by default referencing the agent. House builder says, I've never heard of them, didn't know they dealt with land in your homes before. And it's like, well, you wouldn't, because they haven't, but now they are, and they're part of a wider offering. So it just starts to unravel in that way, and that then sort of follows through to the pricing and market research, how that's delivered, and then ultimately, focusing on who are the house builders we want to be working with, and who's got instructions up for grabs that, frankly, they're our priority of servicing them with land, to help that agent, kick a few things across the line.
And for those people that have been working for you for a while, Kev, what does the Land and New Homes revenue look like as a percentage of their overall revenue of the business? What can it grow to?
I think it's really varied. So it's always easy to reel off the big chunky headline numbers, but don't underestimate that. For an agent who maybe is only managing 50 to 100 lettings instructions and has got a reasonable market share, there are several examples that they will do 250 grand of Land and New Homes income this year, on top of what they've already got. Now, what that would represent in percentage of revenue might be 25, 30%. You've got others where it's more, and you've got others where it's less. But because ultimately, it sort of depends where they're, where they're sitting with their lettings and sales order books. But it can make a big dent. I think the bit that's important to not get carried away with the land fees, which can be incredibly chunky, but they're also incredibly inconsistent. So I almost take those as a bonus if they happen. What we've got to be looking at is, well, what percentage share of the new homes market can the agent take? And even going sort of very low hanging fruit, the amount of sites that are in the planning with between 1 and 5 units, they're pretty much all of them are sort of, if I look at the planning applications, there's a Mr. and Mrs. or a Mrs. X, Y, and Z. And I bet you half the time these people are on the agent's mailing lists or databases because they've been a landlord, a potential buyer, or a seller. But half the time, and we had it with an agent down in Sussex recently, and we're saying, he's talking about some strategic land, and I sort of do the exercise with him, and he says, "Oh, I don't know them." And then I sort of dig into Land Register, and he goes, "Oh my God, that's where we buy our coffees from every morning." And yet he didn't know that this guy owned this sort of level of land, and all of a sudden, he's focusing attention in the right way.
Got you. It's really good to hear, and just to be clear about this as well. So you mentioned just earlier there about talking about that future order book for agents, which is topical with so many agents at the moment looking to sell their businesses. Just talk to us about what the real impact is there.
Well, look, when we sold the Raymond's business, or the first iteration of it to Baymark, obviously we were sitting on a really big order book of Land and New Homes instructions. The key to it is, are your contracts belt and braces? Because the first thing anyone buying your business is going to do, if the contracts, if it's just back of a fag packet or a bit of hearsay, it's going to get struck off. So we push very heavily with our agents. We keep banging on contracts for the whole thing. How that resonates, I think Richard Powell Freeman had lunch with him recently. I know he spoke at an event that was going on recently, and he said, "Look, I wish I'd dealt with land and new homes or got into it sooner." Now, obviously, he really focused on it probably in the last 3 or 4 years of before he sold his business, but it still makes a big impact of knowing that you're going to open the doors on the 1st of January 23, and you've got 2, 3, 4, 500 grand's worth of new homes income in because it's contractually, it's solid.
Yeah.
And ultimately the fees are higher as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to enjoy there. And so, Kev, you've been really, you mentioned before, first of all, the way that's been received with just some of your targeted campaigns has been fantastic, hasn't it? And I know across the board that actually it's a bit of a nervous market out there for the moment, but you're getting some really strong responses to this, aren't you? So if people are interested in this, now's the time to reach out to you to point.
I think what we want to make sure is that, look, when you're always, and there's a cost of anything that's associated to something, I'm looking at this, I think there's real value. We've priced it at a point where it is very accessible to an agent with restricted budgets. But even if the restricted budget, does the opportunity outweigh the budget? And I think sometimes it's very easy to go into the default mode of cut cost. But at what point do you say, actually, here's something that is actually going to be a value add? And more importantly, that age-old phrase of, it's only one more sale or whatever. But in this instance, it's very genuine.
Yeah, and
we certainly wouldn't want to take any agent on board that, if there it wasn't enough to go at, or we didn't feel that it was achievable. So we really are sort of focused on the ROI, and hence, as a result, we've kind of put our money where our mouth is, because our team, we've carved the country into 13 regions. Our team are farming the whole of the UK, where we've currently got white space area, i.e. not a member, and we're already engaged with landowners. So had it with somebody at a conference recently. He said, "Well, what do I need you for?" And I said, "Well, that's fine. If you don't, you don't. But by the way, can I just talk to you about something we're working on?" And I named this particular suburb of his town, and there's no way I'd have known that. Bearing in mind he's walked up to me 2 minutes before. I said, "Oh yeah, we're actually negotiating on a £13 million deal in that location at the moment." And you could just see the colour drain from his face, because he didn't. It was kind of, he didn't believe it. And it's like, we're not making it up. It's it's fact. And
Kev, just on that, you've done a really brilliant offer for some of our Kerfuffle members here, and it's like, it's not just kind of suck it and see or take it on confidence. You just talk us through what you're willing to do for them, to do a bit of a sort of bit of a research piece on their own patch to see what the prize could potentially be around there.
Yeah, in simple terms, Whaley, we will happily produce an inside track report for any agent on their market. And what that will do, that will show you how many sites are currently pending a planning application right now in their area.
Yeah.
What's been approved in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Where it's possible to understand what's consented and not built, and therefore what's under construction. And at the same time, also what the level of new home stock is currently on the market right now, and what the breakdown is. And going one step further, to further prove the point, our team, we could pretty much guarantee, and obviously this is always up for discussion, particularly if somebody's in a conservation area or somewhere it's a bit trickier, but we reckon that we would be able to go on for any kerfufflers, we'd be able to go onto their town or market and find 3 to 5 sites straight away, just from doing a desktop assessment or from what we were already aware of. So that's our offer, without any obligation. We're very happy to do that.
I think that's probably the best offer we've had on our platform for a very good time, Kev. So I really appreciate it, because there's a lot of work that goes into this, isn't it? So it shows a lot, just how confident you are in that ability, what you've got as a model. And as I said, talking to some of those clients that you've already got in your business now, these are the people that I know, we actually had at the top of their game, people aspiring to be the Matt Nichols of the world, the Pygers. There's so many fantastic agents who engage with you across the country here. And now to be able to take that ability for, to tap into some of that expertise that you offer for, what was it, 250 quid a month? get dialing, people. Get dialing. So just to let people know, obviously go to the Land of New Homes page on kerfuffle.com itself. You can put an inquiry there. Reach out to me wherever you need to, Simon at kerfuffle.com, or of course find Kev in the normal places and just prove your kerfuffle credentials here. But you know, we are very grateful for you, Kev. Great. I mean, genuinely, you see a lot of press releases. You think, man, is it all that? This one seems like it's a really big deal.
Yeah, no, we're really pleased with it, and it's taken a good time to kind of like look at how the impact of this is. But genuinely, we think for our full members and also associates, genuinely, the marriage value to all of it, you know, fundamentally, it's just unlocking more and more opportunity. And I think if it can give the agent a shot in the arm and a differentiator to everyone else that might be sort of, you know, dabbling at it rather than actually doing it properly. We'll come and get involved and we'll do it properly, and you know, we'll get you at the table eating with the house builders and having the right conversations. That's a promise.
I mean, that's the key, and all about the connections, all about the expertise, and crucially, as everyone always says, just getting started with this stuff, and that's what you're able to do with this fantastic new. Look, Kev, I love it. I mean, obviously, we mentioned before you've been going 6 years. This seems like such a clever evolution of a business that was working really well itself to take it out to a next, you know, kind of generation of clients. So I think you've got to be applauded for being so innovative here. And as I say that I can't think there's too many agents out there that said, no, we're all fine for stock at the moment, actually.
Yeah.
Good. Great
right,
stuff.
Well, we're here to help, and very happy to do those reports.
No, thank you very much. We'll be reaching out and talking to people on our MOTs on that front as well. For today, Kev, thanks very much.
Nice one. Take care.
Cheers.